Hello, everyone, and welcome to the David Podcast. In this podcast, there will be 6 short episodes where I will be discussing biology, more specifically, evolution in plants and animals. I chose this topic as I believe that it is an undervalued topic between us or the younger generation. The first episode, I will be discussing Darwin and the theory of evolution. Charles Darwin was born in Shrewsbury, England in 1809 and died in 1882. He was a man of many passions, a naturalist, a geologist, and a biologist. Largely known for his involvement in evolutionary biology, his idea of the natural concept of species is considered a fundamental concept in biology. Below here is a photo of Charles Darwin. From 1831 to 1836, the HMS Beagle, which is a boat that Charles Darwin had joined as a naturalist, set out from England and traveled to South America. Below is a photo of the boat itself. A bit of background on the Beagle. The HMS Beagle was built for surveying coastlines. However, later on, it was used a few times as an expedition ship. During Darwin's voyage on the Beagle, one of the ship's most important stops was the Galapagos Islands, a province of modern-day Ecuador. The visit to the Galapagos allowed Darwin to do extensive research in biology, zoology, and botany. Darwin visited various islands across the Galapagos and found many species of birds. At first, he thought they were all different types of birds, like the blackbird and other species. However, after looking closer, he realized that they were all finches, belonging to a family called the Emberizidae. After taking a closer look, he realized that all finches were varied in physical aspects like beak size, feeding habitats, and other traits. He collected and preserved specimens of different birds and recorded their habitats, physical attributes, and behavior. After returning to England at the end of the Beagle voyage, Darwin consulted with experts in the British Museum to classify the various Galapagos finches. Below here is an image of examples of finches. When he observed that their beaks and other characteristics were specifically suited for the habitats of each island, Darwin concluded that the species most adapted to its environment will survive. This theory became known as the process of natural selection. The theory of natural selection proposed by Darwin says that the creatures or organisms best adapted to their environments are able to survive and pass on their genes. As you can see from the photo below, there's an example of giraffes. Only the taller giraffes are able to reach the leaves of the trees, while the shorter giraffes cannot. Eventually, later on, the shorter giraffes will die out of hunger, and only the taller giraffes will survive, which will then lead them to reproduce and create more taller giraffes. Key to natural selection is the fact that organisms vary in their traits. This variability helps to determine an organism's evolutionary success or failure. Variation comes from two sources. The first source is the mating of two parents. An offspring receives half of its genes from one parent and half from another. Since each parent's DNA is different, the offspring will have a unique set of variations in its physical characteristics and behavior. Below here is going to show a DNA structure. The second source of variability is mutations. Mutations are generally unexpected changes in DNA that can be caused by environmental factors like radiation or even just random errors. These mutations can cause either advantages or disadvantages as the offspring tries to survive. Another thing that would affect an animal itself is its environment. Every environment is different. There's a desert environment, there's an Arctic environment, there's also the jungle environment, and many more. An example of this is the desert environment. The desert is hot and dry, while the other environments such as the Arctic are cold and covered in snow and ice. The ability for an animal to survive depends on its ability to adapt to its specific environment. For example, a cactus is adapted to the heat and dryness of the desert because it is able to survive without water, sometimes for as long as 2 years. The ability to store water is an adaptation that is essential to the cactus's survival. Another case of an advantageous characteristic is the ability to camouflage or hide from predators. The charmeleon, for example, has the ability to change colors based on the background of their environment. When predators, such as birds, try to prey on them, the change of color allows the charmeleon to blend in and avoid being seen. I'm going to be talking about survival and reproduction. Natural selection, or the survival of the fittest, involves two processes. The first one, as I have talked about, is the ability to survive in a specific environment using advantageous adaptations. However, the second one is reproduction. For a species to survive, an individual organism must be able to survive until the point where it can create an offspring of its own. Reproduction is the ability for an organism to pass its DNA on to the next generation. As you can see, another example is birds hunting mice. All the white mice contrast between the dark background, which therefore allows the bird to see it easily and kill it. However, the darker mice is able to blend in, therefore allowing them to survive until they can reproduce. Why study evolution? Today, I believe it is extremely essential that young people like us understand both evolution and biology. I'm going to be talking about biodiversity and why we should understand it. Evolution can tell us a lot about biodiversity, which is a critical concept in the 21st century. Biodiversity refers to the variety of species in the animal and plant kingdom. It plays a critical role in the process of survival and extinction. One of the major reasons species go extinct is because of the composition of their environments, including the presence of predators and the absence of prey. Let's say a tree trunk, for example. This tree trunk is made up of multiple organisms such as termites, frogs, and fungi, as well as other species. However, if we think about the role of termites, for example, we will see that they play a major role in changing the chemical and physical composition of a tree trunk environment. In a forest ecosystem, without the termites, the plants will start to lack crucial nutrients and water. They will eventually start to die off. The death of plants will then affect the survival of ants, which will therefore affect the other species as well. If we want to preserve healthy habitats and prevent extinction, we need to understand the relationship between evolution and biodiversity. Secondly, it is also important to understand evolution because we often forget that we are also just humans. Just like other species, we are immune to nature or natural disasters. To prevent for our own extinction, it is critical that we are self-aware and understand our own place in the environment. This series of videos will look at the concepts of evolution and how it impacts us as a human species. We are going to look at examples of successful adaptations that have led species to survive. We are also going to look at one example of a failure of a species that went extinct because it ended up being unable to survive in the environment. I hope you enjoy it.